love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no, I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up, it's time to look at the enemy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Kamen Riders. We are a Kamen Rider Geats review podcast. I'm your host. My name is Josh Meek, the Uber Geek, and I'm joined, as always, by
Toby Tobes.
Toby. How's it going?
Fantastic.
We are back. We're excited. We're coming off of, I think, a pretty hot episode of Kamen Rider Geats. So I think we both agreed. Kamen Rider Geats episode 4 was a real banger. What happened in episode 4? Just to give people a quick little recap.
Neon became the greatest character ever, where she fought off zombieism as well as her mom's domestic abuse.
Exactly. Perfect. That's a good summation. Truly, she is the greatest character. You know, I'm not normally one to pick a waifu as far as shows go, but I think Neon might be my waifu. And I think it's okay for me to say that because she's looking for a soulmate. So
that does seem like a fair assessment.
Thank you. Yeah, that's how I know she's waifu material, you know?
Does it make it easier that there's only one main female character?
No, Ace was definitely in the running.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it was rough. You know, there's Sarah exists as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it's not really. So like it's not like the old days where when we watch Power Rangers, there'd usually be two female Rangers.
That's
so
true.
every time I'd have to truly decide which one was the better one for me to give my undying love to. Like this is just Neon, basically.
It's very close-minded of you to assume that only the females would be in the running for my undying love, because definitely Ace for the first couple episodes was there for me. I mean, what a dude, bro. The first episode he says, "So you're saying there's a chance?" He's the man.
Isn't there another fancy word like waifu if it's a male character?
Probably, yeah. I'm not that into the lifestyle, Toby. I don't know.
Okay. See, that's why I think you're getting thrown off here. Because you said waifu, and that's like the actual... No, it's like husbando.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, so you're really typecasting the roles here, and then I can't compete with this conversation.
Yeah, I'm really only playing devil's advocato because I wasn't thinking of Ace when we started the conversation. I'm just being a jerk about it now. But yeah, no, Neon's great. Love her, and excited to see her do more cool things.
So before,
yeah, I was gonna say, do you have a dumb name for this episode? What are we doing here?
I do. So if this is the first one you're listening to, in the beginning, Josh and I decided that the Kamen Riders is a good name, but then Josh worked on the name too much and was like, it's gonna drive me nuts at some point. There's probably a better name. So every week I try to come up with a better name. So Josh,
I'm ready.
You know, there's people in life that like you always stick with. You do everything together. Let me just stop you for a second, real quick.
Why do all these names require a preamble? First of all, what name have you ever heard in your life that's so good that it required an elevator pitch first?
Anything good requires an elevator pitch. If I was like, yo man, go buy an apple, you'd be like, why am I going to buy a fruit for? But I'd be like, no, Josh, an apple's a computer. It's the future.
No one had to sit me down and be like, okay, so you've heard of wars? Well, what if there was one in space? It's Star Wars.
Yeah.
They just said the name Star Wars, and that was compelling.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on.
So there's people in life that you stick with, you do podcasts with, you got each other's back.
Right.
And those friends, those are your ride or die friends, Josh. So the show should have been called Kamen Rider Die.
Oh, I hate you. That's also good. Oh, the last two have been better than they've had any right to be. Kamen Rider Die. Okay, yeah, that's good. I like that one.
You're going to go to bed tonight and think of the past two now and be like, what the fuck is Toby doing over there?
I really am. Oh.
That's why you need the elevator pitch, though. Because if I was just like, Kamen Rider die, you'd be like, that sounds fucking stupid. But when I give you the elevator pitch for 30 seconds first, it sounds fantastic.
But they all start that way, like, okay, so
so here's the plot of the film.
So here's how
Scene
it's
opens, outer space.
That's what you're doing. You're trying to set me up with a cold open, so then when you hit me with the late title card, it's effective. That's what you're doing. You're doing the conversation version of a late title card. In a world.
In a world with riders.
Oh man, I'm excited. I'm excited to hear the full list of those, honestly, when we get to the end of this season. I'm excited to remember all of these as we
reflect upon the highs and lows of the horrible names that I come up with.
Oh, anywho, let's jump in to Kamen Rider Geats episode 5. We watched episode 5 of Kamen Rider Geats for this week. If you want to watch along, go steal a show yourself. I don't know. I can't help you. We talked last week a little bit about some of the fan subbing groups that are doing the fan subbing, and that's fascinating. I continue to be very interested in some of the translations. Definitely some in this episode too that I think I'm really interested to see, like maybe how the other fan subbing group would translate it, but. Nonetheless, Kamen Rider Geats episode 5. We have 5 Kamen Riders currently left after the passing of dear da-paan in our last episode.
He got retired. He didn't pass. He got retired.
He is no longer fit to be a Kamen Rider. Round 2 of our game is over, of our Desire Grand Prix. And Keiwa's vlogging again. This dude will not stop pointing the stupid camera at his face. And he gets interrupted by his sister. Sarah comes in, and she hears him. She's like, were you talking to yourself in here? What's going on?
The awkward face he makes during that scene is really like when you have a window open on your computer that you shouldn't have, and like your mom comes in. Like, it's truly like the I got busted like looking at porn or something bad like face, like the weird nervous click around the screen real quick, try to minimize the window. Oh, I wasn't doing anything.
I genuinely thought that they were going to make the joke that his sister thought he was jerking it. Like, I really thought that's where they were going.
If this was more Americanized, it 100% would have been.
Yeah, like, because when she's like, you're hiding something, and I'm like, there's no way that that's where they're going. But she thinks he failed in another interview, and he's lying about that. But yeah, there was a moment where I was right there with you. It felt that way. It's like, quickly close the porn window on your computer. Log out of the weird, creepy amateur tube website you're on. Make sure no one sees. Clear the browser history. Abort. We talked about it last week. Or we are getting kind of backstories of people. So we learned a little bit more about Neon last week, and this week we're getting a little bit of insight into Buffa. We find out that Buffa is a good old blue collar construction worker. He's coming off of a job, kind of chatting with a friend, and his friend says something about like building the world of his dreams, and then suddenly dude disappears. Buffa's standing alone and looks very confused, and some other people walk up and like kind of like, hey, are you okay? Let's go get some food. So there's some things going on in Buffa's head, I think, is what we find out there.
So I guess that starts the obvious early first question. Obviously, they didn't show like the other people saying it. Is it just, do they recruit the riders by people basically saying, I wish I could live in a place where X? Because as soon as he made the comment about like, I wish the world was whatever, he presumably got teleported to the Grand Prix.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was the case. Like we find out later in this episode that it seems like that guy that Buffa knew had been a Kamen Rider in the past, like previous to Buffa, and had gotten killed during it.
Right.
It seemed like kind of Buffa's intro to the Desire Grand Prix was a lot like Keiwa's, where he kind of gets thrust into the action and then becomes a Kamen Rider right afterwards. So he maybe retains the memories of like the event prior to it. So like he remembers seeing the previous Kamen Rider die and then becomes a Kamen Rider afterwards. So I wasn't sure if, that moment that we're seeing right now is that guy like getting teleported away to become a Kamen Rider right then, or is that just Buffa daydreaming about a conversation they had and then snapping out of it? I wasn't clear on what was happening.
Yeah, it is kind of hard to judge that because they do a nice dissolve during the conversation.
Yeah.
Like it does like a weird static computer hackery thing. Buffa looks off into space. The screen does like the weird like distortion, and then someone else is talking to him outside the van. So I
Yeah, it
guess
made it feel
maybe,
like a teleport because of that. Yeah.
yeah. So maybe it was just a past conversation they had outside the same place, same kind of construction job, or
Because at least at the beginning of this game, that's not how they brought people in. Like it might be because they had a desire to build a world of their dreams, but they showed up, handed them the buckle, told them they were going to be a Kamen Rider, and like there was time to let them choose to put on the buckle themselves, right?
that is
Um,
true. Yeah.
they didn't really like snap them like this, which would be cool if that's how it was. Just like anytime someone says like, I would make this world better, and then they just disappear and become a Kamen Rider. But
That would be a fun way to do it, though.
yeah, if that is how like the selections are made, I guess it kind of has to be, because like otherwise people wouldn't want to play because they wouldn't have any desire to make the world into their own. But I love the idea that like that's the selection process, is you have to say like, I'd build the world of my dreams, because you have the most self-centered collection of people possible playing your game at that
That's the
point.
way to do it.
Yeah. Just just complete narcissists and people with chips on their shoulders, or just mass murderers, like in the case of da-paan, people who want the human race eradicated. So we get a little humanization there from Buffa, and then we get some hilarious like superstar Ace stuff. Um, Ace is doing a TV show about renovating one of his villas, just
many
one
mansions.
one of his many mansions that he's responsible for, and Buffa shows up to work on the house as part of this TV show renovation.
I think
And
that's the ultimate best fuck you ever, by the way.
it is. It really is. The show is called A House in a Jiffy, and Ace says, he says like along the lines of like, I'm very honored to have you work on my home. Fantastic stuff. He says, at some point, Buffa like kind of confronts him about like this is ridiculous. Like, are you gonna keep parading around like you're some superstar? And Ace tells him like, this is what winners get to do.
This is the perk of being the best.
Yeah, I love that Geats is kind of like started taking down some of that rough exterior, and like he's kind of becoming friends with Keiwa and definitely Neon. But with Buffa, he just prods him more. Like he's not any more human than he used to be. He's kind of like even more of a jerk. He says Buffa is being bullheaded as usual. Is it the red I'm wearing? And we also get a little bit of like kind of class warfare between I think Buffa and Ace, because Buffa says, a stuck-up snob like you would never understand me.
So he basically just thinks that rich boy gets richer, flaunts his good stuff, while poor Buffa has to put up, I don't know, buildings, mansions, skyscrapers, wherever he does.
He's got to swing a hammer for a living, you know. He's not here to look pretty. He's here to work. Quickly after the confrontation here between Buffa and Geats, we have our round 3 beginning. This time it is Concentration, the card game. We have a new playing card themed Giamato enemy. They're the Trump Giamato. And basically their gist, Toby, is they split up couples. They find happy couples and they split them apart. So they say, you can't take pictures of your girlfriend in front of the statue anymore. We're going to separate you with the spear and maybe kill you.
So I appreciate that they switch up the characters, the Giamato characters.
Me too.
Like it's actually versus like obviously the old days like the Power Rangers and stuff. it's obviously they're all the same skull looking mask things, but that they give them like actual different like full roles or character traits is
Yeah.
pretty sweet.
Was the playing card ones, so before we got the thief ones at the beginning, and they were kind of like they were wearing like tattered clothes kind of a little bit, and like they kind of looked like pirates sort of, but like, whatever. Then we got the zombies, which looked mostly like zombies but with their crazy weird heads, and now we get these ones that are wearing playing cards. Is the playing card too ridiculous for you, or is it cool?
It's enough on brand that I
Okay.
don't mind.
I wondered if that would be a switch for you, because yeah, like I'm used to the ridiculous enemies that show up in these shows, but I feel like we had a first two rounds of them were like a little bit more serious, and this is a bit of a tone change as far as the enemies go, and I wondered what you would think about them.
So more like I don't even think about like obviously the costumes are giant playing cards, and
Yeah.
I just immediately just let that go because they're like, oh, it's like the card game Concentration. So I completely ignore what they're dressed as, and I'm like, okay, Concentration. I know that game. How's this gonna work? Like what? Like I because even like when they well before we jump to that part, so real quick, so they said that the Trump playing card Giamoto, not only do they split up the couples, they bring them back to their nests.
Their nest, that's right.
And they never really mentioned what they like where these creatures, people, monsters stay. So it's
Yeah.
like I don't like even if they split them up, like what do they do back at the nests? Or like why do they have nests? Or what's a nest? Or
Each of those questions more sinister than the last. like yeah, yeah, start asking questions that you don't want the answers to, I think, is what that is. No one wants to know what a Giamato does in their nest, or what they do with one half of the happy couple. That seems bad. No one wants to find that out. But it's seemingly on brand because we're splitting up couples, and because this is Concentration. We are also pairing up the writers. So we talked about, what was it, episode 3, where we had a tag team bonus for working together. Well, we're making that official, and we're having tag teams of Kamen Riders. The gist, basically, they're going to pair up, and then the lowest scoring team is going to be eliminated. So round 2 is going to end with 2 riders gone instead of just 1, which is a big deal. Yeah, we lost 1 last time.
So even like for my notes, and we kind of touched on last episode, they're definitely going fast enough with the dropping of riders where it should definitely be a couple full games by the end of the series. I feel like,
Yeah, I think
like we're going
to
entirely too fast. This is episode 5, and they're gonna go down to 4 riders already. So I really can't imagine, or I would hope they're not going to drag out another 35 episodes with just the surviving 4.
I wouldn't think that they'd be able to, with the premise that they've set. Yeah. Otherwise that might get very, very long and boring, but we'll see. But yeah, I imagine we'll have a couple a couple world resets here to set up different games and have different themes, I guess, as the games are underway, like whose world, whose vision we're living in at the time. As far as how the teams get paired up, we draw based on points from the last game. So Geats came in first. He gets to draw first. He draws Neon as his partner.
Of course.
Yeah, the perfect pairing, Geats and Neon. Everybody get your Geats / Neon fan fiction fingers powered up, because this is the episode for it. Buffa draws next, and he gets Kawa. Neither party very excited about this.
They're like the polar opposite of personality types, like
Yep.
meshing, that Geats and Neon would be.
As soon as they were talked about pairing up, I was like, I really want these two to pair up. Like this was the group I wanted together, for that exact reason. Complete polar opposites. This, of course, we mentioned at the beginning, there's 5 riders left. So Mary is left out in the cold now. He doesn't have a partner. He gets paired up with the Desire Grand Prix administrator, Kamen Rider Punk Jack.
Which is the best. Like, this should come out a little around Halloween, or at least we're in that season right now.
Yeah.
So having a freaking Pumpkinhead Kamen Rider is like the ultimate best like Halloween tie-in ever.
It's perfect. Yeah, it's great. I love that he's a pumpkin head, and the whole episode, he's just this like unresponsive Kamen Rider just standing there fully in costume, who clearly has opinions about things but won't speak because the quote staff members have to remain anonymous. I love everything about Kamen Rider Punk Jack, including the fact that Punk Jack is just a recoloring of the panda head yet one more time.
Yeah, like at first when they said Punk Jack, I was like, oh, it's a bear. Okay. And I was like, no, but it really looks like a pumpkin though. And
Yeah.
then they finally dropped the name, I was like, so it is a pumpkin, but it is still a bear somehow.
Yeah, yeah. They're still leaning in with the recolored bear head, and that's just a bit now, I guess, at this point. We're just gonna keep bringing that same outfit back, just in different colors. But it's a pumpkin this time, like it was a panda bear last time, like it was a bear before. Um, Great stuff. I hope that Punk Jack sticks around because what a character, especially paired with Mary. Like that was a great choice to pair the two of them up.
He's like a bad NPC escort mission character where like he does just enough where he's supposed to be there, but you just sit and stare the whole time and you're like, motherfucker, I'm behind cover. You're supposed to be throwing grenades right now. And you're just staring into space, just doing nothing. Like, fucking do something, please.
That's quite literally what it is. At one point, I think Mary's like, "Don't just go off on your own." Like he just yells at him about the way he's fighting. There's a brief scene where I think it's behind the runner of the game where she has like video screens of the various things that are happening, and you see Mary just kind of dragging Punk Jack down some stairs. Just like, come on, we got to go this way. Fantastic stuff. Continue on with the rules. We find that they get one loot box per team, so they have to figure out how to share the one buckle amongst the two of them. Neon opens her loot box and gets the claw buckle, and Ace is very giving here. He says that she should use it. It fits her fighting style.
Wolver Neon.
Very much. Yeah.
Her.
Mary gets the mace, and Punk Jack kind of just acts creepy and stares at it. Mary's like, "Did you want this? Well, I'm gonna keep it," and then hands over the shield that he had before. Kwa gets the boost buckle once again, has never used it, but he gets it. I think Buffa points it out and says, "Don't you get that every time and have never used it?" Ben Kwa's like, "Yeah, I have." Certainly.
So my first, or not my first question, but my question tied to that then is, obviously there's lore to these stupid games and everything happens for a reason. I'm curious if he keeps getting the boost buckle because he's always willing to share it when he has to. Like, is it because like he's like the hero character that like the fates say, here, you can have it again because you always do the right thing with it?
It could be that, yeah, or it could be like, so if we find out in this episode too that Magnum and Zombie, those two buckles, are sort of the signature buckles of Geats and Buffa. So like like other people can use those buckles, but when they have them, they get an extra boost of power. So I'm wondering if like the boost buckle isn't Kwa's like signature buckle, and if he uses it, he becomes like a super god, but he's just too selfless to never use it. So like that's gonna be the bit. It's like finally he uses it once, and he turns into just like the ultimate Kamen Rider.
Yeah, I mean that would definitely make the most sense. Along with that, since they talk about the custom driver thing for each character. I wonder, since Geats knows a lot about how this all works anyway, is that what he just told Neon that's a good one, you hang on to it? Because he was like, the cat gets the claws, you get the 1.5x modifier because this is like your specific custom driver.
Oh yeah, that wouldn't shock me at all if that was his point there. Which is like, you're gonna need that one. It's better. Yeah, that would make total sense. We see the fighting begin. Kwa kind of runs in to save some people. Buffa runs in muttering about, he's gonna get some points from saving them. He has to justify why he's helping people because he's a tough guy. And we get our first taste of kind of how these enemies are different. So Buffa does kind of the Magnum big tactical blast gunshot, and the dude just kind of stands back up after he got knocked down.
Well, he also flashes a card. That's the
Yes, exactly.
important piece of this.
Yeah, he flashes a card and a suit, and then stands back up. So this goes on for a long time. They can't figure out what's going on. Like, we keep killing these guys, and they keep standing back up. What's happening? It takes them so long to figure out like what the gimmick is here.
So it's funny. So like in my notes, so I basically just go like line by line and like stupid notepad. So my first note when they were trying to start the fight, because again, like when they said concentration, I remember the game, you're supposed to match cards. So like I wrote down like, is the gimmick getting two of the same kill at the same time? And then I was sitting there and thinking about it. And my next note right after that is, this doesn't work well over text. Like me asking you that question before it's happening works way better as a conversational thing than me like knowing what's good, like me talking to you at the end of the episode anyway. And being like, oh yeah, that was actually the thing. Like,
right. For sure. Yeah. My only complaint with that being the conceit is like technically concentration is like you flip over a card and then you have to find the match, right? Like it's a memory game. You don't flip two cards over at the same time. It's like one and then another. Like I feel like it could have been that they kill one and then have to kill the other like quickly, but like anyway, maybe I'm overthinking it.
Well, especially too because like during the 5-minute interlude of everyone getting kills but no one really dying, the one Trump one they killed twice and his card changed after each death. It went from like Ace of Hearts to 3 of Hearts to something else. And at that point I was like, well, this is extra stupid then, because how would you know what card he's supposed to be,
right,
if the card always changes?
Right. Because later I think that does work, right? Because Geats like goes in, fights a little bit, I think downs a couple people to figure out their cards, and then marks them so he knows which ones to kill.
Well, yeah. So does that? I think
that's later. Once we find out Geats has figured out the gimmick.
Okay, so before we remotely jump back to that, but so there's a whole private training montage of how each team, they'll basically all do one round. They go back to the base. The boss lady was like, no one figured it out yet. No one has any points yet. So they all have their own partner-ish training moments.
Yeah. Well, let's work up to that. Yeah, because there's a couple things that happen before then. Well, one, you talked about the claws on Neon. We get to see those. Those are really cool. They fight on like this really cool like long pier, which looks awesome. It's one of the coolest like settings I've seen in Kamen Rider.
It's a fantastic like basically movie action shot of like a final battle out in the ocean with the helicopter flyover for the camera.
Yeah, I loved that. And then, as you said, we're back in the lounge. Like no one has points yet. We get a little scene between Keiwa and Buffa, and Keiwa like kind of tries to give him a tip. Like you're saying, he's like, "Why are you going up close when you have Magnum? Like that's a long range weapon." And Buffa says, "Ranged fights aren't my style," and he wants the zombie buckle back. And Keiwa says, "Like, oh, that's why you're always butting heads with everyone," and almost gets in a fight with Buffa. And then Keiwa says, if you want the zombie buckle, give me that, and takes Magnum. Keiwa walks off, and he rolls up and basically he proffers a trade with Ace and with Neon. And again, here's a reason why I love Neon so much. Keiwa's trade is just like, hey, I'll give you Magnum, you give me zombie, everybody's happy. And Neon says, oh, we'll do it, but you're going to throw in the boost buckle as well. And this is the time when we find out that they're ID cores. So the Kamen Rider that they are, they have kind of corresponding buckles. So the Magnum goes with Geats and the zombie goes with Buffa. And then, so the trade happens. Buffa's a little upset about it, that he gave up the boost buckle, but he gets the zombie back. So he's happy about it.
Do you think he's mad about that part? Or do you think that he's mad that being the dickhead doesn't actually work? and being the nice guy, actually talking to people and like working together is working better. So do you think part of his rage is just the fact that like he's like,
Oh,
fuck, maybe being a jerk isn't actually the way to do this?
for sure. Yeah. Like the fact that he could just go and ask nicely to get his preferred buckle back and it worked. Yeah. Yeah, cuz he's out there like he's like bartering backroom deals like, you know, with a sociopath to get the buckles he wants, and instead he could just go ask for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got to be a little upset about it. We get some more backstory from Buffa here at this point. This is where we kind of find out that it seems like Buffa's friend was a rider. So we get a kind of in the dark scene where we see Buffa's friend again from earlier, and he's kind of cut down by two Giamato. The friend seems to be named like Toru or something like that. And basically it's just Buffa like screaming his name while the guy dies. And then I watched this multiple times to see if I could like make out anything, but it seems like there's maybe two Kamen Riders kind of walking away as this is happening, and then we get a shot of Geats fighting other Giamato. So he's there as well. So Geats already kind of exists at this point.
So that, I mean, that's so it probably all ties to maybe like why he hates Geats so much, why he's mad that Dead Riders didn't help his buddy. But that scene as well as like the bridge scene, it was shot really cool. Like it's like dark, ominous, barely lit, just enough to see what the hell's going on, and like
Yeah, I loved that. Yeah, and like the way that the kind of Giamato like cut across the screen to like take down the enemy is very like comic booky and looks really really cool. So I thought that was all great. We find out like that kind of tells us some more about the players too. Like we find out that Gates for sure predates Buffa in the game, because if Gates is if Gates is already a Kamen Rider when Buffa sees his friend die, yeah, I think you're exactly right. Like that's sort of Buffa's introduction to the game and where he came in, and Gates was already there. And yeah, it seems like you're saying that's sort of Buffa's hatred of Kamen Riders is you didn't save my friend. Maybe there was some circumstances there where the two riders walking away like turned on his friend or something like that, because obviously that happens a lot in a game like this. So Buffa, this is where I kind of wrote down that like it seems like Keiwa and Buffa's like intro was similar, of like you got wrapped up in the game as a civilian and then kind of instantly became a part of the game right after that.
yeah, definitely.
Then we find, this is a great part, I love this, fleshing out the lore of the lounge area. We found out that the lounge area has a training area to simulate battles, and they can just call in basically fake Giamato to fight. And Ace has brought Neon here to train, and his goal, he says that Neon is good at dancing. He's seen her dancing earlier, and he wants her to fight and train to music. He wants her to do some dance fighting. I love the little back and forth between the two of these. It's very cutesy.
It's all very like rom-com, Hallmark movie-ish of, I'm going to come more into your world now. You love to dance, so I'm going to help you the best way I know how. And we'll do this by dancing.
So much. It reminded me of let me see if I can remember the name of this movie real quick. I'm gonna do a quick Google. Oh, what is it? There's a movie, someone's gonna know. The Cutting Edge, that's what it is.
I actually know what movie that is.
Yeah. So it's like it's a hockey guy and a
Figure skater.
Yeah, exactly. And like their worlds mashing together, and he's like trying to learn her world, and he keeps falling down, and she keeps skating up and going like toe pick to like teach him how to skate with her type of skates. Anyway, that's what it feels like here. Like he doesn't take her world seriously, but then you find out that like, oh, it actually has some merit. So that's a weird random image that popped in my head watching that.
I don't know what's worse. If that was what popped into your head, or that as soon as you said the movie, I know what you're talking about.
I love that you were there with me on it. That's good. Yeah.
See? Kamen Rider die.
It's all coming together. Our mission begins again. We get our first look at the mace that Mary had picked up. I love this mace. It's huge. This
It's so
thing's
awkward.
massive.
It's huge and it's awkward. Like Neon's giant pink mallet is like awkwardly big and weird,
Yeah.
but works. But Mary's freaking like crazy thwomping mace that's hard to swing and not do anything with is fantastic.
It's a perfect tool for him too. Like just it's kind of do nothing weapon. And this is where we see Punk Jack kind of like off doing his own thing, like not really not really helping Mary at all. Just great stuff. I love that like the default starter weapons that everyone got, the starter buckles, are like kind of so bad. Like comically large, or like they squirt water and aren't really a weapon, or they're just like a giant like bonking hammer for no reason. Like I love how dumb they are. Like they're really good on that front.
Do you think Pumpkin Jack doesn't really try because he's an administrator? Like he has no skin in the game.
None whatsoever. No.
So like obviously he could try harder, but then he's just helping someone make their own world. So I wonder if part of it is he's not really supposed to be like super hardcore into it, or if there's actually like a key to how you're supposed to work with an admin if you have to play with an admin.
I think I took it like Mary needed to like instruct him a bit more. Like I feel like his directive was like, don't work harder than your partner's working, kind of. So like Mary kind of sucks. So I think Punk Jack was kind of sucking. It's
That
how I
seems
was
fair.
I was
seems
reading
like
in my head.
Yeah, that works. That definitely works.
Because I think like if Mary had been like, listen, here's what we do. We have to take down these guys matching cards at the same time. So you're going to listen to me and only going to fire when I fire. Like, I feel like Punk Jack would have been on board with that, because I think that's probably what like the administrator should do if he's supposed to be this kind of impartial, member of the game to fill in.
Well, yeah, especially with the not talking thing too. Like,
Yeah.
obviously at that point, all the communication has to come from the speakable party. So yeah, like you said, like if Mary would have said like, "Hey, this is how the cards work. You got this, right?" I'm sure he sort of like nodded his head and played the way he was supposed to, not just killed things and ran off by himself and everything else.
Yeah, that's at least my headcanon for Punk Jack, because I love him so much. Then we cut back to Ace and Neon, and finally Ace explains the whole situation of taking down two at the same time, the same suit, and we get our first music fight. So Neon actually plays the music in the fight. I thought it was maybe just for training, but Neon busts out the phone, starts playing some music, and Geats does the thing I mentioned earlier of kind of marking the two that they're going to aim for. So he runs in, does some initial fighting, and then throws paintballs to mark the two Giamato they're going to take down. I believe Neon says only good vibes here, maybe at this point. I wrote that down. I think
Close enough.
I think that happened. They get the timing right, cards fly, their score goes up. Geats says, first of all, talk about a speed run. Like, bro, it took you like a whole round to figure this out. That's not how speed running works, dude.
Yeah. Any percent first kill.
I guess so. I guess that definitely checks. Yeah, just winning in a sea of people who don't know what they're doing. It's not speed running.
So I'm scrolling through the episode again while you're doing that, just so like the Punk Jack stuff again.
Yeah.
So I wonder if part of it too is, so like when they did the thing with the mace and the shield, Mary and Punk Jack, like Mary basically taunted him and was like, "Hey, do you want this buckle?" And like the Punk Jack looked at it and like nodded ish. He just like looked down and acknowledged it and looked back up. And then Mary was like, "Never mind, just take the shield." But looking at everyone's buckles, I feel like the ones that match their outfits are the ones that are their good ones.
Yeah.
So the mace is orange and Punk Jack is orange. So I wonder if he was like actively telling him, like, obviously he couldn't tell him, but I wonder if he was actively trying to say like, "Hey, don't be a dick. If you share, we're good." But just couldn't say anything.
Maybe, yeah, because that's like the most interaction that Punk Jack has is like they open the mace and he kind of like leans towards it, like it seems like I'd take that one. Yeah, Mary's like, nope. Yeah, that probably was the moment of just like, that's mine. Like, it'd be really good if you gave that to me. It'd be beneficial for you. We head back to the lounge, and Geats and Ace are Geats and Ace, and sorry, Ace and Neon rather are just like very high on themselves at this point. They're like, let's get some food. It's gonna be a while.
The only people with kill, so I
Yeah.
guess they can ride high on their 1-point lead.
Mary's pretty upset about being paired with Punk Jack. I believe it's this point he like hits him, and Punk Jack hits him back, which is a pretty great moment.
Like you actually like have to watch this episode to watch that scene because it doesn't really do it justice. But like Mary gives him like what the hell's up with this guy, and it's like the weird like awkward like backhanded slap like, hey, you kind of suck. And Punk Jack just looks at him and just like gives him a solid punch back in the shoulder, like fuck you, don't touch me.
Yeah, the fact that they like really sold the like smoldering stares from Punk Jack this whole episode is great. Like they did a really good job of getting a lot of emotion out of a completely emotionless element. We get a huge wrench thrown into the whole proceedings here at this point, though, because Mary's upset and the butler shows up and says, well, hey, if you don't like your teams, you've amassed some desire money thus far. Why don't you buy one of these special redraw tickets that lets you swap teams?
I got so irritated in general because it's like selling fucking DLC in a game.
Yeah.
Like it's like I know that obviously they lean into the loot crates and everything else, but again, this really just hammers home the nonsense of like, hey, it's seriously just a game. Like we're giving you credits to buy things. Hey, here's a mid-round rearmoring wipe DLC nonsense, whatever.
It's also upsetting here because I would have to go back and listen to the exact wording. But the first time that you find out that desire money exists, whenever Neon is kind of doing her clothes shopping, like they make mention of like, well, you can't buy buckles or like anything that'll help you in the game. Like they make some like oh, it's just for cosmetics and food and stuff. And I don't remember exactly how they worded it, but I feel like this goes against whatever they said there. It's like, this is a huge thing that's going to help you in the game. Like you could trade teams with someone who is the best player and you'd get all of their points on your team. So that, that's kind of a bummer, I guess.
And then they clarify it by, they're like, well, it's not really fair if we do this. This is kind of stupid. And they say like, well, you all have your individual points, so it does keep it fair because you saw the same amount of points. But that still doesn't make it fair.
No.
Like maybe in theory it does, but that's not making it even.
It likes because the one team that has points, they have 200 points, right? They killed the 2 Yamato. They're always going to kill in pairs of 2, so it'll be 200 points per kills. So if they split that team up, let's say that Mary pairs with Ace instead, then that new team is going to have 100 points, and whoever pairs up with Neon is going to have 100 points. So like, yeah, they kept their points, but also like Mary got a free 100 points because now it's a team score. Yeah, it's a little dumb. The stupid game's pay to win, Toby.
It sure is, and it makes it extra unfair. Okay, so I saw the episodes. I'm watching it as you talk again. Neon runs over, says, hey, is there anything we can buy? The butler says you're able to purchase cosmetics using desire money, which you can gain during the games. And then he shows her a little computer screen. He says, however, buckles and equipment are unavailable.
Okay, so I guess technically what he said it doesn't make this illegal based on what he said earlier, because this is not buckles or equipment, but certainly goes over the spirit of what he said.
Yeah,
which is you could buy cosmetics.
That's how people skirt the rules.
Yep.
It's not the true spirit of the items here.
Maybe like Bungie runs the Desire games. Who knows?
Okay, so you can pause it on. I'm doing a deep CSI analytics while you're talking.
This is great. I like this. Yeah.
So there's a main menu. I'm going to send you the snapshot here real quick. Hold on. You can either let this in or edit around it. People can see how we work here.
Let them
All
see
right.
how the bacon's made. Oh yeah, the screenshot of like the things that you can buy. Right.
Okay, so on the menu, it has movies, food, drinks, fashion, hair changes, accessories, chat, and settings. So nothing on here even remotely leans towards, at least I guess from this thing. Nothing on this on their initial store sales pitch says you can buy perks like swapping teammates.
No, definitely not. Now I'm very interested. I went off on a tangent in my mind here. Of like I want there to be someone like who just stays in the lounge forever when they start becoming Kamen Riders. Like, yeah, I got some movies coming. We got some food. Like, this is where we live now. I'm not going back. Like, I just live here. Why would I go back home? I got everything I want. I wonder if you pay to get your hair changed using this system. Is it still changed when you go back home?
See, someone needs to buy it so we can find that out. Someone,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I feel like the only person that would do it would either be Neon or Keiwa to try to impress Neon. But I feel like someone needs to actually go back to this goofy store in the rest of the series or the rest of the show, whatever you want to call it, and someone actually needs to buy some cosmetics just so we can see what they do in regards to all those things.
I do hope that comes up again at some point because like we got a little bit of taste of it with Neon and like the different clothes. But yeah, I want someone to buy like a horrible skin or something. Just like I'm gonna look like Ace for some reason for the rest of this this fight. Like I just want it to be dumb. Or buy like what's some of the dumb like Call of Duty things? Like they do like
The
uh
sprays and the emblems and
yeah, I want some of those like gun keychains that they tie on, where it's just like a little charm dangling off of your gun, but it's like it's in the shape of like I don't know, Sailor Moon or something. That'd be great. After this, we get our buffa training montage. So we saw the kind of first training area in the lounge. Turns out there's another spot. Buffa, it's kind of like up on the roof. It seems like he's like up there alone, and he goes up to train. He calls in some training Giamato, and he starts fighting him, just fist fighting him. Doesn't even transform at first, which I think is really cool.
well, so the place he went to at least is definitely the same place that his friend died at,
It looked like it. I couldn't tell if it was the same place. You think it's the same exact spot?
or at least like
It tended to look like it,
yeah.
if not the same. Yeah.
So I don't know if it's just like because he's played enough times now, where like because they said like the training rooms are basically whatever you want them to be. So it seems random to have one that would be like almost the death scene, but maybe it was or something along those lines.
But he seems dark enough to be like, I'm gonna train where my buddy got killed. Like, make it look like this.
Yeah, he's gonna keep the rage alive by just
Yeah.
reminding himself, "This is where I was. I didn't do shit last time. Probably it's not gonna happen again."
It really is. It's the danger room. They just have danger room from the X-Men, which is
Yeah,
cool. Yeah. Geats confronts him. So Geats shows up and says, like, if you could switch teams, would you? And Buffa says, all writers are my enemy, so it doesn't matter who I'm paired with.
hey, he's sticking with
Yeah,
his
that's his
morality there.
conviction. Geats says, this game isn't suited for you. You've always been, quote, a lone buffalo, which I liked a lot. Then we kind of get an exchange where Buffa says, do you want to know what I wrote down on my card? Like, is that what you're trying to find out from me? And Buffa says he wants to beat the crap out of Geats. So who knows if that's actually what he wrote down on his card, or if he's just saying that and there's more to his actual desire. But very clear that like the two of them coming to odds is Buffa's kind of main goal in the game.
So it must be he must. I feel like truly just blame Geats then for
I
the
think so.
death.
Yeah.
Like obviously, like he was adjacent to it, and while it wasn't like maybe like necessarily his fault, like since Geats is the common denominator at this point anymore, it must truly just be like, okay, fuck Geats, you are the reason my friend died. I'm coming at you every time, all the time, no matter what.
Yeah. And maybe it's Geats is the only one that's left, or like, Geats is Geats, so maybe it was like, guy died and Geats is like, that's what Kamen Riders do or something. He had some stupid Geats saying as it
Yeah.
happened. But definitely Buff is coming for him. So like we heard at the end of the last episode, like the showdown is coming, and this episode was definitely the build and justification, I think, for that showdown coming between the two of these. I do think that what is on Buffa's desire card is going to be another reveal at some point, though. Like, I think they want you to think that it's like Kamen Rider Geats will die, but I think it's probably like bring back my friend or something like that.
Right. Like his is going to secretly be super unselfish as well.
Yeah, I think Buffa is going to be the good guy because he's a blue collar dude. He loved his buddy. He's just a little misguided in his revenge quest. But speaking of misguided, Buffa's trying to propose a trade. Mary is trying to propose a trade to Buffa as the episode ends. So another little cliffhanger there. Are we going to get some team swaps, you think?
I would assume we would have
Yeah,
to.
I think we have to. Yeah, if we introduce the fact that that's possible. Yeah.
So, and with that, so if Pumpkin Jack goes with,
Pumpkin Jack.
I guess put him with Geats would be the smart move.
Oh, well, I assumed that like in this case, Mary and Buffa would be the new team. So then the stranded members would form a team. So like Kawa and Punk Jack would be the new team, but I don't know for sure.
But yeah, but if you're gonna switch though, I feel like the move would be, even though like Mary's not the best, you would want to make one of the good teams bad.
You would think, yeah.
So I would think, like, I know like what you're saying, like they're hinting towards Buffa and Mary together, but I feel like putting Pump Jack with Geats would be the smarter move if you're gonna do it, like strategy wise, to put him with like the speechless whatever. But Geats is also smart enough to actually just talk to Punk Jack and be like, "Yo, this is what we're doing. Please do it when I say so." Blah blah blah.
It's also not super clear, like, if Mary can just decide who his new partner is and then kind of teams fall how they fall, or if he gets to sort of remake the teams however he wants. Like, it could kind of go either way, right? Like, I'm not sure what the fine print basically of the thing that he's buying is. But my definite prediction, I agree with you. Whoever ends up paired with Punk Jack is going to talk to Punk Jack and figure out how to make that duo work well. It's going to be like, oh, Punk Jack's like OP. You just have to tell him what to do. It's really easy.
Yeah. So the ticket, at least in the translation, says that this ticket grants the user one chance to swap teams with another pair. So I guess you just have to pick another. I guess you just get to pick the person you're swapping with.
Yeah. So it sounds like you just pick the person. So like he could trade with Kawa to be partners with Buffa, and then Kawa would be partners with Punk Jack.
And then
if he goes that route, yeah.
Right. And then jumping back to the beginning, when Buffa's talking to his friend's like, "Why are you still doing this job? The construction stuff?" Buffa says, "Do I need a reason?" And his buddy says, "Guess making a living is as good as a reason as it gets." So at least the first part of that hints to me in some sort of way of like, he doesn't need to be working.
Yeah,
but his friend's like, so then why are you working if you're going to be grumpy about it or you're going to do whatever? So maybe he's just there. So I guess that's where the speculation starts on Buffa's backstory of like, why is he doing a job he doesn't have to, especially a manual labor job, which are noted for not being everyone's favorite.
Yeah, certainly. But he seems to like identify with the manual labor crowd, right? Like, because he talks about like Ace is just stuck up, like, you wouldn't understand me. So I'm interested in finding out more about Buffa. I feel like last episode we found out like we got a good deal of sort of like where Neon's coming from and where Mom's coming from, and I feel like with Buffa, like we did find out about his backstory, but like there's so many more questions that I need answered before I really understand this dude. I wonder. So next episode, do you think it's like a big fight with Geats and Buffa, or does that keep simmering?
I feel like it has to simmer at least until whatever game they play after this. Because at this point, they can make the teams work out. I don't know. Because I feel like they'd have to make the teams work out in a way where it's Geats, Buffa, Kawa, and Neon as the final four. So
Yeah,
Mary would have to lose still. But if Mary's going to switch teams, I don't know how he can.
yeah, that's my thought exactly. Yeah, I think we can't have the big Geats Buffa showdown until it is those four, and I don't know how they'll get to those four now if the team swaps can happen. Although, Mary bought a team swap. Who knows? Someone else could too. Everyone has desire money, and if Mary has enough to buy a team swap, certainly so can Geats.
That's true. Like, I guess because since Geats is like, he knows all the strategies already from doing it and winning it and being like OP at this whole game. Maybe he's gonna like just like you did, like make it like a surprise reveal. Like, oh well, you guys were off scamming. Don't worry, so did I. I bought everyone team swaps. Let's just re-switch it up. Or
Team swaps all around. Hopefully, the team swaps result in everyone getting partnered up with a system administrator. Just there's a million Punk Jack and
that'd be awesome.
other people.
So yeah, I actually want to see, like, I want at least at some point down the road, I want at least one, if not like multiple more administrators. Because I just want to see if they keep repainting the same helmet over and over to make it like different animals, but the same animal.
I think they're going to. Like, I think that's the joke at this point.
That's the bonus helmet that whoever's new gets that helmet, but it's just a different color.
Exactly. It smells a little bit, but like, and like the paint's kind of sticky because it was just spray painted. But I think that's what it is. Yeah, it's like they just went and got the dude who was like sitting in the desk down the hall and like, hey, you're gonna get in the costume. It's orange this time.
You're up now. Have fun.
Yeah, it's you. Your name's Punk Jack. Get out there. Yeah, I do think that's the costume that's going to come back over and over and over again. That's definitely my guess.
Awesome.
Awesome. But yeah, that's Kamen Rider Geats episode 5. So we pick up with the continuation of round 2 of the Desire Grand Prix for next episode. Any other final thoughts?
I still don't know if I like Buffa. And one of my original notes was, I don't care about backstory about people I don't really like. But I guess, I mean, no matter what, I feel like these type of shows don't usually have like hardcore trash people that don't have any sort of redeeming quality.
Or if they do, they're so over the top, like the Panda was, like da-paan was.
Yeah. So like, he's like the smoldering angry guy, kind of like Geats was in the beginning.
Yep.
But obviously they both have their own little side story. Like, Geats was doing the hospital charity stuff on the backside that no one knew about. So I'm sure like the reason that Buffa still worked the construction job, we didn't have to, and all that kind of dumb horse shit, is going to be some sort of like ultimate like redeeming story of, well, he was doing it because his family needed money, and even though so and so did this, he still wanted to be there for him, or something ridiculous to make him a good person.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. At this point, like, from what we know now, he still annoys me because of the, he really is like bullheaded about the like, oh, Kamen Riders are my enemy. Like, I get it, but like, maybe work together so you don't die.
Right.
Like that kind of stuff is like, it's one of those things that's always in TV shows and movies of just like, yeah, I know you have these principles, but it's really annoying that you're sticking to them when like no human actually would. Like he does that thing where characters like don't have the self-preservation kick in. They stick to like their character design.
Yeah.
Which always gets to me. But they've done such a good job with like Neon and with Ace of like starting with these really one-dimensional characters and kind of flushing them out slowly to like not give you like the full view, but like give you just a little hint to say like, oh, there's more to this person than you thought. And like, even last episode with Neon, like there were parts that she was still like regular Neon and like flighty and like we've seen from the beginning, but then we got a little bit more depth. And I think we'll still see that with Buffa, and I think that they'll find a way to make it. They'll find a way to make me like him, I think. But I'm with you that I'm not quite there yet. On
Yeah,
him.
there we go. That works.
Yeah. All right. Like I said, that is episode 5. We'll close it out there. Thanks very much for joining us, everyone. This has been super, super fun. 5 episodes in. We have a lot more to go, and it's fun to speculate. I'm really enjoying this season. So 5 episodes in, are you enjoying your Kamen Rider experience so far, Toby?
I've never been more hooked. This is all fantastic.
I genuinely am very jazzed about this season. It's super fun to talk to you about it, for sure. Like, that definitely is heightening my enjoyment of it to a huge degree. But I think I would be way into this season in general, even if you and I weren't watching it together, because I find myself telling my wife about things that happen in it, which is the lamest thing in the world, because she doesn't care. And she doesn't care at all.
There's no interest.
No interest whatsoever, but I just have to say words out loud sometimes to people about it, because it's so fun to me, and like all the dynamics and stuff. So yeah, I'm pumped about it. And I think that this is way better, I think, than the last couple of seasons. So we picked a good one to get in the Kamen Rider game, is what I'm saying.
Good job picking a good one, because I would have had no clue.
Thank you. All right. If you want to check out other episodes of the Kamen Riders, you can do that. Search for it in your favorite podcast app, or search for it on YouTube to find our video versions. We throw in stills from all the episodes, and you can see what we're talking about as we're talking about it through the magic of your eyeballs. It's crazy technology these days. You can also check us out online. Toby has a separate YouTube channel where he does fun video games, like playing through all of Yakuza. Search for Tobes Plays to find that. And you can also follow Toby on Twitter. Where can people find you on the Twitters, Toby?
At Life of Tobes, TOBES.
You can follow me on Twitter as well. I am at Pretty Deece Josh, PrettyDecejosh. So once again, thank you very much from the bottom of our hearts for listening to the Kamen Riders, and join us back for Kamen Rider Geats episode 6 next week. Until then, have a common time. Not a super time, just a common.
That was horrible.
Listen, I'm not the one naming these shows.
I'm taking shots at the enemy. I'm gonna make it to the top, leave a legacy. If I got something to say, you better let me speak. Turn it up a new degree, bitch, you ain't seen anything. I pop off with the new rock, electronic, blow the sonic roof up. I'm too honest when I take a